I'm going to get choked up. I want to say I went out and did a 70.3 to show myself, first and foremost, that I could do it, that I am capable enough and strong enough. But I also want to show other people what is possible. I forgot to film it, but we successfully packed my bike up in the bike rack. Thanks, Meg. Packed up and ready to go. Headed to the airport.
You stay inside most of the time, but you don't seem to mind. Why don't you come outside and see what it's like? I think you'll find that the weather is nice. You come get drink, it's not as bad as you think. You puke in the sink, but you'll be fine. Wake up around 9, then you do it again and again and again and again.
Happy Thursday. I have arrived to New York. I arrived last night and really just had dinner and went to bed. Woke up this morning, put my bike together. No issues with the bike, which is amazing. My rotors are not even bent. No dings. It was super easy to get in, super easy to get out. Went for a bike ride this morning. We'll insert a clip or two here. And then I did a run off the bike. So just pretty chill, but yeah, no, I am headed to check in. Making an important pickup right now.
Slight right onto the ramp to Terminal 4.
Mike has arrived for SAG purposes. Woohoo!
Kate's being chaotic. Really suck to put on, especially if you're a perfectionist, because you'll never be.
I'm not going to be a perfectionist about it.
Yeah. That's good. Yay! All ready to go.
We're going to check in the bike and get my timing chip. But first, coffee.
Coffee, bike, ready to go.
I am Kate of Everybody Try, and this is my race recap for Ironman 70.3 New York in September of 2024. So to start, I chose this race in part because I'm from the area. I grew up in Queens, not too far from Jones Beach, and I knew I could stay at my parents' house. I was a little bit familiar with the area, and so That was one of the reasons I chose this race. And also it is a flat, fast race. And after Oceanside, I was really interested in that. Unfortunately, my family had another commitment and they could not come cheer me on at the race. And so my good friend Meg, who lives in Colorado, who I train with and who's on Team Zoot with me, offered to come and basically support and SAG this race for me. I am so glad she did because I would have been totally lost without her. In the days before, the weather forecast was actually looking really good. It was looking like it was going to be partly cloudy, maybe a little bit of rain, but not much. Honestly, ideal race condition. The morning of, I woke up at 3:45. I had laid all my stuff out and packed it all up the night before. And so really it was a matter of getting up, getting some breakfast, getting my last minute things together, like putting the element in my water and things like that. Left here around 4:30. It was an hour drive to the race. Got there around 5:30.
How are you feeling?
Ugh. I feel like every race morning feels the same, which is, why am I doing this? Why did I sign up for this? I want to go back to bed.
But,
However, comma.
you're gonna do great. It's a little rainy, as we can see. But the rain is about to go away.
It's like 5:38, and we arrived a few minutes ago, and basically we are at the next parking lot over. So for the Jones Beach race, they have a ton of parking, but the lot that's closest to transition filled up really quick last year, and then people were waiting in really long lines to get in there, and some people were late getting into transition or like barely made it into transition. So they really emphasized this year that they have multiple parking lots available. And this parking lot is not that far. It's like, what do you say? What do you say? Like 100 yards to transition.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little bit nervous. I feel like the nerves have started to hit.
That's normal. I think that's, like, totally normal. I think if you didn't feel nerves, then I'd be like, what's going on, girly?
But I'm also still excited.
Yay.
I just am feeling more nervous than excited right now. But I think once it gets started, I'll feel excited.
Yeah. The nerves will go away as soon as your face hits the water.
I think it's hard when it's your second attempt because you feel like I've been trying not to focus on the pressure that I feel to get it done.
Totally.
I think I trust in my training. I think right now I feel, in terms of pressure, I feel more nervous about things that are outside of my control. Mm-hmm. Like if something happens on the bike or like, whatever, that is a little bit scary. So I think, I don't know, I think this is true for a lot of people, but I think when I get out of the swim, it'll be like, especially if I make it kind of in my goal time, that'll be a huge relief. And then of course the bike will be fun, but then it's also the most opportunity for like mechanical and just things happening outside of your control. So then once that's done, I'll feel like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
And I'm hoping that I get done with the bike and I've hit my goals for the swim and the bike, and then that's going to make me feel a lot more relaxed for the run.
Definitely.
So.
Well, yay!
Got there around 5:30, walked over, put my stuff down, kind of set up my spot. It started raining, so that was a little nerve-wracking. It was also kind of cold, but I was used to that from Oceanside, so I was prepared. I had Meg there with me, which was great because she held onto my wetsuit while I set up all my things in transition. And then I went out and met her and was able to put my swimsuit on down there. I also was able to wear my sandals with socks on. Honestly, putting on the wetsuit was one of the hardest parts because by the time I had walked over to transition, set up all my things, walked over to the race start and used the porta potty, I was soaking wet to the bone, and my wetsuit was also already wet. So that made putting on my wetsuit extra challenging. Plus, it's New York, so it's humid, and that doesn't help at all. But I got the wetsuit on, and that part of the morning seemed to go really fast. Then we got to the part of the morning that was waiting for the swim to start. There were so many athletes at this race. I think they said over 3,000, and the swim start just looked totally massive, as is the case in I think many Ironman, half Ironman events, they were doing the timed start where 4 athletes were going in the water every 5 seconds. So it took them, I think, about an hour and 20 minutes to get everyone in the water. While I was waiting in the mass of people to get in the water, I was, of course, chatting with other people, and we were looking at the water, and it did look kind of choppy. And I remember saying to someone, it looks choppy, but not super bad. But I also feel like that could be really deceiving when we get out there. And boy, was it. I finally got in the water about an hour after the first people got in the water. It was about, I want to say 100 meters of walking, just even to get to a point where you could swim, walking through some shallow, sandy, mud kind of area. Finally got to the swim section, started swimming, and it felt like I was in a washing machine. The swells felt crazy high. It just felt like no way would you ever be swimming in these conditions if this were not a race. And around me, people were calling for help. People were getting out of the water. Meg later told me that a bunch of people had gotten pulled out of the water before I even got in. I just remember thinking, I may be a shit swimmer, but one thing I have going for me is I am not afraid of the ocean. I grew up on the ocean. I spent every summer of my childhood in the water. I just felt really grateful because I was not scared, but the conditions were objectively scary. I kept telling myself I just need to make it to the turn buoy, and then on the way back, I'll have a push from the waves coming in. I made it to the turn buoy. There were it was kind of a rectangle-ish. So there were 2 turn buoys, and in the middle of those 2 turn buoys, you were just getting pummeled with waves because now the waves were coming from the side. It was crazy. I'm glad that I breathed to the left because that was the right way to breathe, to not get a whole face full of water every time you tried to breathe. Get to the second turn buoy, I'm turning and thinking, oh, please, please let it be a flyback. And it was not. Basically, by the time I had gotten out there, and maybe this was different earlier in the race, but by the time I had gotten to that second turn buoy, the swells had gotten so big that the waves were pulling you back. So it was swim forward and then get pulled back a little bit, swim forward and get pulled back a little bit. So really I was fighting every second of the swim. Good news is I finished in an hour and 4 minutes, which is an 11-minute PR from my Oceanside swim. In Oceanside, my swim technically didn't make the swim cutoff. So this one did, and that's really exciting for me because 104 with an 8-minute PR in some really adverse conditions makes me feel like I'm making progress with my swim. I am moving in a forward direction with it. So I got out feeling overall pretty happy with that, and honestly just happy to be done, and thought this is the fun part. I get to ride my bike on this beautiful flat course. Headed out on the bike, and honestly it was raining, and the roads were extremely wet, and it was a little bit windy in certain parts, but I thought, okay, my legs don't feel amazing, but I just need to ease into this. So I started out a little bit slower and then just gained some momentum. Felt amazing in the middle. This course is a 2-loop out and back. So the first loop was amazing. I felt great. I felt like I was really kind of getting in a groove. And it started to feel like the weather was starting to clear up. Saw the sun come out through the clouds a little bit. The rain had stopped. Headed back out on the second loop. And it was miserable. It started raining again. Got even windier. And I just thought, I really wanted to prove that I could have a fast bike split. That was really important to me in this race. Not only because biking is my favorite and I feel like it's my strength and where I shine, but also because I knew I was still dealing with my plantar fasciitis with my foot and that the run was going to be less than ideal. And so I really wanted to get as fast as I could on the bike to have some cushion on the run. Got done with the run in 3 hours and 15 minutes. I was averaging 17 miles an hour. I am so proud of that. It was a flat course. I think my elevation gain was like 650 feet. And I just knew that I could get out there and really push it. And I am so proud of that. It's technically like a 50-minute PR from Oceanside, but also really unfair to compare the two because Oceanside is 2,600 plus feet of climbing. But still, it felt amazing. I was super proud of that. Got off the bike. And I cannot tell you how grateful I am to Meg that she had told me the night before, like it could rain, put in an extra pair of socks in transition so that if you get off the bike and your socks are soaked through and your shoes are soaked, you can at least switch out your socks and start the run with dry socks. And I almost didn't do it just because I thought it wasn't going to be that way. It wasn't going to be that rainy. I wasn't going to get that wet. Boy, was I ever wrong. So wrong. It felt amazing to put on the dry, clean pair of socks before I put on my running shoes for all 10 seconds that my feet lasted as dry. I was nervous because when I first stepped off the bike, still in my bike shoes, my foot really hurt, my right foot where I've had the plantar fasciitis, and I thought, oh no, not this again. Then I put on my running sneakers and no pain, which was amazing. Got out there, my lower back kind of hurt, but I just told myself, this is going to get better. It's going to loosen up. Just keep going. The conditions had not gotten any better. Meg at one point saw me out on course and said, it looks like the rain is going to let up in 30 minutes. And I said, I don't think I believe that. And she was like, yeah, I don't really believe that either. But maybe. It was a super fun run course, honestly, flat, lovely, right on the boardwalk there in Jones Beach. But the wind. It was so windy that it felt like it was the kind of wind where you were having to put in more effort in order to keep going forward. The kind of wind that wants to push you back. That was just sort of an extra challenge that I didn't need on the run because it was already going to be a tough day on the run for me. I have not done anything over 4.5 miles since March because of my plantar fasciitis and just the rehab that I've been trying to do and staying off of it and everything I've been through with my foot. And I'd only done a 4.5 mile run once or twice. And everything else had been 2 to 3 miles. So I knew that it was going to be tough. I wanted to try because I just wanted to see what I could do on this course. But I knew it would be a tough day and that it would get really dark. I had been randomly listening to a Spotify playlist and I came across the song My Body by Young the Giant. And the chorus in that song, I'm not going to sing it, you're welcome, but it goes something like, my body tells me no, but I won't quit because I want more. And I just told myself I was going to sing that chorus to myself the entire run, and I basically did. I love that sentiment. I think it was perfect for this race. Every step forward that I took on that run, my body was telling me, no, please stop. And I just had to push past it. There was one section on the second lap that got pretty dark for me, just feeling really negative. I felt like I knew I wasn't going to make it and my foot was hurting and my stomach was cramping, but I didn't want to stop and use the bathroom because I would lose out on all this time. And I didn't want to have to even think about taking off my race suit and putting it back on. That just seemed like crazy. But I unfortunately got to the point on the run where I could not take down any nutrition. My stomach was cramping so badly that I had to stop and use the porta potty. I think I lost at least 8 minutes on that stop. So that's a super bummer because I just missed the 8.5 hour cutoff by about 8 minutes. So I can't help but feel like had I not made that stop, either had I not made that stop, I could have made the race cutoff, or had I just made that stop earlier, I could have been pushing myself more because there came a point when my stomach started cramping that I couldn't push myself to run as much. And when I went to the bathroom, then I was able to push a little bit more. So I couldn't help but think if I had just gone when it originally started becoming a problem, then I could have made up some more time in the run. But you get dealt the hand that you get dealt, and that is part of racing. And who knows, in a different day or different conditions, a million things could have been different. But it is what it is, and I can't go back. And it's just something to kind of take forward with me for the future and to learn from. Got to mile 12, or a little before mile 12, ran into Meg again, and she said, you can do this. You're so close. Keep pushing. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. At this point, my feet were just blisters, just giant blisters all over my feet, soaking wet. Every step was painful and miserable. And then I got to a point when I was running next to Meg where I had blisters in between my big toe and the second toe on both feet. And the one on the right broke open. And I said to Meg, I feel like someone is stabbing me with glass in between my toes. Every single step was so painful. Honestly, I have no doubt my plantar fasciitis was flaring up, but it was almost like I was totally distracted by that because both my whole feet hurt from all the blisters. So that was really unenjoyable and really painful. But I, with Meg's emotional support on the course, made it to right before the finish line. I had like 0.2 or 0.3 miles left to go. And Meg said, I'm going to peel off. I'm going to try to go get to the finish line. You're almost there. Soak it all up. You only get one first 70.3 finish line. And as I got closer and started hearing the announcer and then saw the carpet and then made it to the carpet, I just felt like I would have broken down in tears, except for that I did not have enough water in my body to produce them. But the sentiment was there. When I was out on the run course, I kept saying to Meg, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make the cutoff. I really want to make the cutoff. And I just thought I would be so saddened by not making it. And I know there will be people out there that say, you haven't really finished a 70.3 because I haven't done it within the cutoff. I honestly did not care at all as much as I thought I would. I still feel like I did 70.3 miles. And to me, I accomplished what I set out to accomplish. I got 2 people that recognized me out on the run course, which was amazing. One guy was running the other direction from my first loop, and he said, everybody try, which was incredible. Like, what a surreal experience. And then a woman saw me and also shouted out, everybody try. And just how incredible is that to have people at races who have followed along on my journey and can see me out there. A woman came up to me at the finish line and she just said, I want to thank you for being out there and it means so much. Something like that. I don't know. I was like kind of delirious at that point. So if that was you, I just want to say that was so lovely of you. It meant so much to me. Thank you to everyone who follows along and supports and gets some kind of inspiration out of this. I'm going to get choked up. I want to say I went out and did a 70.3 to show myself, first and foremost, that I could do it, that I am capable enough and strong enough. But I also want to show other people what is possible. The vast majority of people that have messaged me or commented on my videos or commented on a picture or a video on Instagram have been so supportive and so amazing. But of course, I occasionally get a comment saying I should essentially lose the weight and then come back to triathlon. And I would be lying if I said that never gets to me. I would be lying if I said that when I'm out on a race course and it is hurting and I am feeling slow and bad, that I don't sometimes think maybe I should just lose the weight and come back to triathlon. But something that is so important to me and that I hope that people take from watching my journey is you don't have to wait to be the ideal weight or the weight you think you need to be to go out and do something athletic or do something physically demanding. Do an Ironman, do a half Ironman, do a sprint triathlon, do a marathon, do a half marathon. You can start today where you're at if that's what you want to do. Weight loss, it's so hard. I have been trying to lose weight essentially my whole life. And sometimes I've been successful. I've lost weight. I've gained weight. And no matter what weight I am, I've always felt like I could be smaller. Like if I were smaller, my athletic performance would improve. I may or may not ever lose weight, but I'm not letting it stop me from doing what brings me happiness and what brings me joy. And you shouldn't either. So I hope what you take away from this is you can set your sights on a really big, scary goal like this, and you can go out and get after it no matter what size you are today. As for what's next, I did specifically on the run course say to Meg through tears, or not really tears because no water was coming out of my eyes, but I did say to Meg, I am never doing this again. I think that's a lie. I think I'm doing this again. But I am going to take some time to have a little bit of an off season, to do some other things. I have been neglecting the great Colorado outdoors in terms of hiking. I'd really like to get some hiking in this fall, but I'm already looking forward to getting back to training and figuring out what's next for next season. So I hope you keep following along. Subscribe if you haven't already, because honestly, the journey is just beginning. See you next time. And remember, everybody is a triathlon body.